All right, good morning, everybody. Morning. Wasn't Jay awesome? I love Jay. What a great guy. He and I actually both share the distinction of working for Australian companies but not having that amazing accent. Okay, so let's jump in. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. Here we go. I'm going to talk about customer success as a philosophy, which is actually a little bit different than I think what you've been hearing. There's probably very little I can tactically teach you about what you should be doing, but I can up-level how I think about customer success, and hopefully you can take that back to your organizations. So this is actually a picture of me in 2009. This is when I co-founded a company called Assistly, which was a customer service and support company. And we put this decal up in our office. We had this small, tiny little 800 square foot rectangular office, and anytime somebody came into the office, they would see this decal, and it says, "Support the customer or there will be no customer to support." This was really a philosophy that we deeply believed. And this was a kind of a goofy picture taken of me, but we ultimately wound up including this picture in every welcome email when a company signed up for our product, with a little note from me kind of saying, hey, this is what we fundamentally believe, and we're here in service of you. My CMO at the time actually probably intentionally made me stand in that way. If you notice, the fingers actually pointed at me with a gun, and so I think it was if we failed our customers, I would be shot, and he would replace me. So I deeply kind of believe in this sector and the importance of the customer in the overall success of your company. More recently, I joined a company called Campaign Monitor. How many of you have heard of Campaign Monitor? Okay, great, awesome. A handful of you. For the folks that haven't, every time I say I work at a company called Campaign Monitor, especially in and around this time, most people think we build software for presidential campaigns. And actually, we don't. I knew this would work in California. The reality, though, is that on both the Republican and the Democratic parties, candidates use Campaign Monitor to connect with their constituents, to fundraise, to get them to events, to notify them of various things that they're doing and their issues. In 2012, I'm incredibly proud to say that the Obama campaign used Campaign Monitor as a core part of their service to connect with their constituents and to win the election. So while we're not optimized around this, we believe campaigns are starting to behave much more like SMBs. And so what does Campaign Monitor really do? Well, we deliver elegantly simple email marketing for the rest of the world, right? Historically, these powerful tools have been trapped and specifically built for the enterprise, for companies with lots of money. We want to take that enterprise functionality from the Fortune 500 to the Global 5,000, right? Or 5 million, I should say, and enable companies all over the world to connect directly with their customers in a very easy do-it-yourself way. So a lot of people ask me, well, why did you join Campaign Monitor? As you had heard before, my previous company, Assistly, which became Desk.com, was acquired by Salesforce. And at Salesforce, I was a GM of $1 billion business, the largest support product in the history of the world. And yet I joined this Australian company doing really, really interesting things. Well, it was because, to me, SMBs are the growth engine of the global economy. And I love being on the front end of helping these companies grow. That was really important and meaningful to me. But the thing that really sold me is when I went down to Sydney, which is where the company was originally founded, I saw this everywhere. Okay, there were monitors all over the office, and there were one of two things on the monitors. Some monitors had a map of the world and were lighting up as people were using Campaign Monitor. So this very much goes back to what Jay was talking about, usage of the product, which is incredibly important for us. The second set of monitors have both quantitative and qualitative data about how customers are engaging with Campaign Monitor. On every interaction, whether it's a sales interaction, a support interaction, a customer success interaction, we're asking those people for feedback on how was their experience. Again, both quantitatively, you can see the numbers, and qualitatively. And when I walk around the office, you'll see people just standing there looking at the data coming in, which is super interesting. It impacts how we think about the customer at the kind of core part of our journey. Now, what excited me wasn't that there was this group of folks in customer support and customer success. As a matter of fact, at the time when I joined the company roughly 18 months ago, 50% of the company was in product, and 50% of the company was in support and success. I grouped them together, and I'll talk about a little bit later why. So it wasn't that we had all these great people doing a bunch of diving catches, right? And if you're in customer success, you know what I mean by this. It means that somewhere along the way, the customer has been failed by either the marketing process, the sales process, the product, or something, and one of you has had to perform a heroic act to retain and save that customer. And by the way, I am a Met fan, so this isn't just clip art. And so it wasn't that we had a lot of people doing this that really impressed upon me. And it also wasn't that we had a lot of people giving hugs to customers, right? Proactively just virtually hugging your customers and making them feel good, although this is also probably a big part of your job, and it's important because I think you create an emotional connection with your customers. It was because the company really thought about customer success as a broader philosophy. If you just think about customer success as the back end of a process, you've already failed. Right? It's incredibly difficult to scale that. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of why I think customer success is a philosophy and what that means, and then maybe how you can go back and impress this upon your organizations if you already haven't. So I'm going to start with an equation that I kind of think about and use in life. Disappointment equals expectations minus reality. Okay? Disappointment equals expectations minus reality. If you rewind back to a disappointing experience you had, it was probably because you had a certain set of expectations for what you thought the product would do or the experience that you would have, and the reality came in somewhere below that. And the delta between those is your level of disappointment, right? And so I think about how do we minimize potential disappointment for our customers. And again, that doesn't happen at the back end of the process. That happens at the very beginning. And so at Campaign Monitor, we spend a ton of time interviewing and understanding our customers and our prospects. We create personas for them because they're not all the same. And we intimately understand the needs and challenges of that persona. And then we build products to address the needs and challenges of that persona. And it's an iterative process, right? It's not a one-way street. It's continuously iterative. And then when we think about marketing to those people, we use messages to set the level of expectation that our product can then deliver on. Because again, we want to minimize the gap between the expectation that one of our customers or prospects has and the reality of ultimately the experience they have. We think about that in sales too, in terms of how we guide sales. We're a little different than Atlassian in that we believe salespeople can help the process if they're bought into the idea of customer success. And so to me, everybody in the company owns customer success. Customer success is part of the entire business process. And as customer success leaders in this room, what you need to make sure you do is A, sit at the executive table. Our chief customer officer sits at the executive table. B, you need to fight for gaps in the end-to-end customer experience, right? Because nobody's perfect. And there's a gap that may occur in marketing or in sales or in product or somewhere along the way. Most of the time, you're going to identify and see that gap because you have that intimate connection with your customers. It's not good enough to just solve it through diving catches and hugs. You have to solve it throughout the entire process. And so you have to be that huge advocate pounding the table. If you're not at the executive table and if you're not pounding the table for how marketing talks to prospects, for how sales talks to prospects, for what your product does to deliver on that promise, for how you price, then you're not doing a good enough job. And so I would implore you guys to go back and push hard. The second thing is, beyond being integrated into the business process, and this is where we're very similar to Atlassian, we have 5 values. This is one of our values. This value is on the wall in our San Francisco office. It's on the wall in our Sydney office. It's how we think about when we interview candidates and we talk about our top 5 values. It's incredibly important to who we are because it's not good enough to be part of every business process. You have to ensure that every employee in the company, no matter what role they have, thinks about this when they're making a decision, whatever that decision might be. Right? This is the guiding principle, and we have 5 of them, but this is one of our core guiding principles, very similar to what you saw with Jay and Atlassian. If our customers kick ass, we will too. It's incredibly important. So how many of you guys know your company values? Okay, good, most of you. How many of your company values actually have something that very specifically talks to the customer in this way? Okay, not all of you. Right? And so I would go back and I would fight for a value like this to be very clearly integrated into your company. Because if all you're doing is diving, catching, and hugging, you're going to have a very difficult time succeeding at scale. So highly recommend that this happens next. Okay. Finally, we do something a little kind of unique in our company in that our chief customer officer has support, because I actually do think support is part of customer success, maybe not organizationally, but in the end-to-end process. Customer success and customer marketing. And so here's what I mean by that. If you kind of take that kind of full circle, when you're talking to prospects, you're setting the expectation for what you can deliver. The best way to talk to your prospects isn't about how great you are or how shitty the competition is. The best way to talk to them is through the success of your customers, to elevate your customer as your champion, to help your customer tell their story, and hopefully through the telling of their story and their experience with you, tell your story along the way. So here's a customer of ours called Jaybird. They make these amazing Bluetooth headphones that are wireless, specifically for athletes. And they've been a customer of ours for 4 years. And so we recently did a video with them to kind of tell their story, because again, we want to tell our story through the voice of our customers and through their success. So this is the first time that anybody's going to see this video. Hopefully.
I can't think of anything else that elevates someone's performance when they're active than music. When you put some tunes in and you don't even know where the music's coming from because you've forgotten about the device, that music just takes over and you've transported into a whole different place. Jaybird is an active lifestyle brand, essentially in-ear wireless Bluetooth headphones for sport. The reason why our products look the way they do is because we care about design. Everything we do is in-house, from the engineering, from the industrial design, and the marketing.
Email marketing is driving massive revenue for our business.
Our customers are our fans, and email is essential to how we communicate with our fans.
And this really keeps all of our customers in the know about our products, where to buy them, when to get that awesome discount.
You know, right from the start, we've used Campaign Monitor, and we've loved the ease of use. We essentially have a team of 2 running all of our email marketing.
Campaign Monitor, it's fantastic. The drag and drop builder makes it super easy for anyone to make dynamic emails that target specific audiences.
We feel like we have a pulse on the campaign, on a global level, in real time. And to be able to really get an understanding of who's opening them and how they're interacting and how long they're spending and how they're responding to the messages that we're sending out. The Jaybird email marketing campaigns have been a critical element in helping our growth, 100%. Campaign Monitor allows us to do so much more with much less. To us, that's priceless.
Cool, thank you. To me, there's no better way to tell your story, like I said, than through the voice of your customers, because that'll inspire other people to do really amazing and interesting things. And that's why we kind of have it integrated all into one department. The purpose for all of us, I think, you know, kind of in this room and this idea of customer success is because it has a meaningful impact on revenue, right? I think one of the things that I fundamentally believe is that revenue is the sincerest form of flattery. It means that you are doing something on behalf of a company that is meaningfully impacting their business. And if you just look at the difference in retention, right? This is churn and retention rates. If you have a negative 4% churn rate, you can see what your revenue growth looks like. If you have a positive 4% churn rate, which means your customers are growing faster than they're churning, that dramatically changes the revenue curve and gives you the resources that you need to deliver even more value to customers. And so I think, again, if you really think about customer success not as an organization or a group, but more broadly, if you act as the champion on behalf of your customers and ensure that everybody in every department is thinking about customer success as something they own, if you integrate it into your values so that down to the individual, the people that you're recruiting and the decisions that they're making, they have in top of mind kind of that core value, And if you tell your stories through the voice of your customers, I think you too can have a revenue trajectory growth like that. Okay, that's 10 minutes for me. Thank you guys very much.